Hello, Happy New Year. Welcome to episode 351 of the Total Saints podcast, your home for all things Southampton Football Club. We start with a huge thank you to our TSP Patreon community because we couldn't make this show each week without your incredible support. Coming up this week on the podcast, the new year began as the old one ended with a damp squib of a game and very little to chat about, really. A boring 0-0 draw at home to Millwall. Again, very few talking points. This might be the shortest episode that we've ever recorded. And next in the league, we face a team who haven't scored in over 6 hours of football. So we all know what's going to happen when we make the trip to Middlesbrough on Sunday. We'll preview that game for you as well. This is Martin Starke. Joining me this week, Steve Grant is the owner of Saints Web. Glen Cour is writer of the blog League 1-10. And Alfie House is senior Southampton reporter at the Daily Echo. We'll get on to the game in just a moment. Obviously, the January transfer window has opened. On Wednesday, I think it was, reports began to surface that Bayern Munich goalkeeper Daniel Peretz would be recalled from his loan with Hamburg and sent straight back out to Saints. It looks like that could be happening very soon, Alfie, as well, with maybe an option to buy in there too.
Yeah, I don't know about an option to buy, but you'd assume that given the amount of people reporting that it'll be true. But yeah, by the sounds of it, it'll be done tomorrow maybe. I think he was due to fly in for a medical yesterday. I think it was reported at the time that he'd already done the medical, but it was insisted to me by several people that he hadn't already done the medical. He was still in Germany and he was flying over today, which explains why it hasn't been announced yet. Maybe it'll come this evening, who knows. But it's a position that we've talked about for weeks, isn't it? We needed a goalkeeper. Obviously, we'll get on to Gavin Bazunu in the game itself, who's made a point, I suppose, of one of the best saves he's probably ever made. But we needed a goalkeeper. He's 6'3", as Glen told me before we came on air, because I knew basically nothing else about him as a player, because I haven't done my analysis on him yet. But I make the point that if Bayern Munich signed him from Maccabi Tel Aviv or wherever it was, that he's probably got something about him. And he's obviously had a difficult year at Hamburg, playing second fiddle to a goalkeeper who has done reasonably well, by all accounts. So he's not getting the minutes that he wants. And he gave an interview in the German national press a couple of weeks ago saying that he's not happy with not playing. He wants to play every minute, all this sort of stuff. So one can only presume that he wouldn't be swapping a number 2 role somewhere else for a number 2 role here, and he'll come into the first team. You would have thought over Gavin Bazunu relatively quickly, probably next weekend. Where does it leave Gavin Bazunu is an interesting question. I think that the club would be open to selling him permanently if a right offer comes in, but again, if the right offer comes in, we set about 1 million different players. So I guess we'll have to see about that. But yeah, I think we need a goalie. Good that it's been done on January the 1st rather than February the 1st, like we usually expect. And yeah, we'll see how it gets on.
They're not hanging about. Does that mean that George Long will head back to Norwich?
Well, we still need 3 goalkeepers, don't you? So I guess that is one option, but I can't see them having a first choice and Bazunu and McCarthy on the books. So I'd have thought they'd like to keep George Long as a cheap one and get rid of one of the other ones that soak up a bit more cash.
We don't know much about him, Steve. Lack of game time is the obvious thing. He's been at Hamburg. He's not played. I think he's played just 2 appearances in the Cup. Whoever you're going to sign, it's not going to be a first-team regular, really. So whether it be the guy from Sunderland or whether it be this guy, we've got someone that's going to have to get up to speed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, if you're signing a goalkeeper in January, then unless you're going and poaching someone and probably having to pay over the odds, then he's not going to be kind of sort of match fit and sort of up to speed and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I guess timing-wise, yeah, we've got a game against team 2nd or 3rd bottom in League One next week. So that feels like an ideal opportunity to kind of get him integrated straight away. Yeah, I mean, and also as Alfie rightly says, you're probably not going to want to keep 3 first team wage goalkeepers on the books. So you would think one of the 2 existing senior goalkeepers is probably be on their way somewhere. But again, you've got to find a home for one of these players. It's difficult. I mean, we've seen how we've already struggled to get rid of some of the players that we've been absolutely desperate to get shot of, and nobody's biting. And or if there is a team that's interested, then the financial package very clearly doesn't make sense from someone to kind of take a bite on the deal, whether the wages aren't right, or we're not letting letting the club pay a sort of percentage rather than a full take up of the wages, that sort of thing for players that we want to get rid of. I imagine we're paying probably a loan fee to Bayern. That's kind of the way that they tend to operate, and it'll be all of this guy's wages, which, yeah, as I say, will be first teamer money for as far as we're concerned. I would imagine. So, yeah, you kind of think you better be good, really. Frankly, it's it's a position we've generally not done particularly well on in recent years. Ramsdale was obviously an obvious exception, but that's one of the rare occasions where we've gone out and bought proven talent for the level that we were playing at. And Ramsdale was absolutely fine, as everyone expected him to be.
Unfortunately, that was the only position where we did that, though, wasn't it? That was the the main stumbling block.
Unfortunately, he was left completely exposed by all the useless twats in front of him. So yeah, that's unfortunately where we were. But yeah, hopefully our goalkeeper signing here turns out gets, well, at least his numbers should be better. Hopefully a few more clean sheets. Although obviously the one yesterday was a clean sheet as well.
We'll get on to that celebration soon. Yeah, I guess the thing that we can only sort of credit them for, Glenn, is getting the business done a bit early. As Alfie says, they've obviously identified it as a problem, despite what they've kind of said, and then getting it done. They've obviously been working on it, and hopefully there might be a few other things to happen as well.
Well, I think I sent Alfie a message a few days ago saying, are we going to get a goalkeeper? Talking about goalkeepers and. It was like hopefully January the 1st, and I joked. I said no, February the 1st on a deal sheet, because that's the way we normally do it. So given the amount of games that we've got coming in January, and I think it shows that they obviously see it as a major issue that needed to be sorted, glad they've they've gone out the way. It's obviously Johannes Spor's type of thing, obviously coming out of the German league again. He's obviously got his finger on the pulse of what's going on there. So you've got to hope that he's more of a Leo Cienza and less of a Damien Downs in terms of the levels, and that he can come in and play straight away. But I never know with goalkeepers. I mean, when goalkeepers have been inactive, does it affect them as much as it affects outfield players? I would generally say not. I mean, and I don't think there's the amount of disparity between coming to the English league for the first time that some of the outfield players find. So hopefully it'll be okay, but it's a bit of a leap of faith. I mean, I can't imagine. I certainly don't know much about him. Alfie's admitted he doesn't know much about him, and I don't think many fans will know much about him unless they're followers of one of his previous clubs. So it's a bit of a leap of faith, but as happens a lot of the time, you just got to hope that he's a hit rather than a miss with regards to incoming transfers.
Some interesting but not interesting stuff from the head coach on him as well. We asked Tom Derecker about the signing, after the match yesterday, and he said, I think that's a question more for Johannes Spors than me, which is fair enough, but obviously revealing. He says, when it comes to certain positions, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask. I have an idea and I have a pair of eyes, but I trust the recruitment department. So I think that makes it crystal clear exactly how that operation is working, which I think we knew anyway, given he was a head coach rather than the manager.
Yeah. I just hope that the new goalkeeper, I just hope that he can, claim crosses when they come into the box, dominate at least the 6-yard box, and that would be, and obviously all the stuff that goalkeepers should be able to do. But particularly, they're the areas that need upgrading: the actual dominance of the box and the just the general being a presence. So as long as he can do that, then that'll be huge in my book.
Let's talk about the game yesterday. Tom Derecker afterwards said, I don't agree. It was a rubbish game of football. He says, don't forget we played a very good team that is very well organised, presumably with a straight face. I mean, we're celebrating a clean sheet at home to Milwall. Is that how low the bar is right now, Alfie? That's what we've got to.
Yeah, well, just on Tom's comments first. I think that he is saying what the players want to hear. ultimately, most of the time. I don't see how he can fully agree. I think what he misinterpreted and he sees it as it wasn't a rubbish contest. It was a good contest between two teams who set up to do what they wanted to do, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, for the viewer who pays £30 plus ticket, it was rubbish. It was boring. I didn't pay for it and I felt robbed. So anybody who did would have felt that. It was what it was, right? I think it's the third game in 7 days or whatever it is. We've got another one coming on Sunday as well, so they couldn't even sort of go all out on this one. I think it's one game too many. I think if I was to revise the festive schedule, and I know this sounds like excuses, but I would get rid of one of those games. I'd just play 3 over the 12 days rather than 4, because the players, the ones who started again looked knackered, and we also had players taken out. Tottenham made 5 changes because of the fatigue. Took Kasper Yander out, which we said he might do, but he also took Amo-Ameyaw out, and he took Finn Azaz out for Matski, Cam Bragg, and Cameron Archer. And I thought Cam Bragg did really well. I thought he had a good game. Obviously, expectations are a little bit lower for him because he's a younger player, but I thought he exceeded all of them. He did well. Matski looks energetic, and he tried his best, but I felt that he was just a little bit off the physical mark. I don't think he made a massive impact. People may disagree. And I also didn't think that Elias Yella was anything special in this particular game. Obviously made a great impact against Birmingham, but the game livened up when Tom Fellows came on the second half, and when Adam Armstrong came on for Cameron Archer. That's when we started to have a couple of chances. Tom down the right, putting balls into Amo, who was, even though he didn't get the chances to score other than the one that got pulled back to him, he was linking up, playing more, doing more than Cameron Archer did for the entire time. So for the first sort of 85 minutes, it was a fairly boring non-event. I think Sienna Ballo had one chance for Millwall right at the start of the game that was straight at Bazunu. But then it all came alive in the last 5 minutes. Obviously, that unbelievable Gavin Bazunu save to deny Ballo again. Ballo will be gutted he hasn't scored, obviously, but it does hit Gavin square in the face, but he gets himself across brilliantly to get there. It's not a case of it's just hit him. He's put himself in the position for it to hit him. And then 2 big chances at the end. The biggest one, the Harwood-Bellis header, for sure. Harwood-Bellis header from a Ryan Manning cross. And then the other chance, can't remember who it fell to. Who was the other chance? The second one? Finn Azaz. Yeah, Finn Azaz, yeah. So either team could have won it in the end. But I do think their point was probably fair on the basis that neither team was particularly great.
But you expected as many changes, Glenn, when we went through our predicted lineup. I don't think any of us would have said 5 changes from Monday night, but maybe we should have just paid a bit more attention to what he was saying. All the language in the run-up to it was that he was going to rest a few players and change a few things around.
Yeah, I think everyone was surprised to see Matski starting the game. It felt like, I was surprised when the team sheet dropped. Wasn't over surprised that Archer came in for Armstrong, but the trouble for me was taking out both Armstrong and Azaz. You're taking out most of our goal threat, and you're replacing them with a midfielder who's never started a game, and Archer, who has generally been very poor. I know he scored the goal up at Birmingham, but it's the old one swallow does not make a summer sort of thing. So I don't know if the intention was to try and win the game in the second half by throwing on the likes of Fellows, Armstrong, Azaz, but I don't think we're a good enough team to basically sack off the first 60 minutes with trying to score a goal. Because I felt in the first half that unless Sienna ran through loads of players that nothing was going to happen, and then we brought the players on, Armstrong, Fellows, Azaz in the second half, but obviously took Sienna off, and that kind of meant that the second half didn't really catch fire until, and as you say, the last sort of 5 minutes. There was I was so bored, just so bored. I've got it's funny, I was thinking my natural sort of position on my seat, I sit in the front half of the seat and my weight is forward watching the game. It's on my feet, and I'm waiting for something exciting to happen so I can stand up or shout or do something. And after about 15 minutes, I found myself sat as far back in my chair as I possibly could. It's like, this is so boring. And I was thinking, when I write about this, I'm going to have to get the thesaurus out and look for other words for boring and
dull.
Soporific. Soporific was the best one I came up with. Which basically means sleep-inducing. I was so bored, and I lost time. It's like you look at the stadium clock and it says 52 minutes, and the last time you looked at it, it said 47 minutes, and you can't remember a single thing that's happened in the last 5 minutes. It's some sort of vortex of time going on where it was just shit. I just could, and Tonda's comments at the end, I think Alfie's explained it pretty well. I don't think he's he can't think that was a good game. he just can't possibly think that. But yeah, I mean, I think the problems were partly caused by the starting lineup and the rejigging of the defence. I don't think that helped either, because it basically killed the right hand side. With Nathan Wood playing as the right centre back.
Yeah, there was a little tweak, wasn't there, of the centre backs with Harwood-Bellis playing in the middle, which
I mean, Nathan Wood then had to pass the ball over longer distances and more often in order for the play to progress up the field, and that's why I don't think Yeller got a decent pass all game, basically, where he wasn't under pressure. It didn't suit Wood at all, and they obviously felt something was wrong with it because they swapped it at half time and swapped Wood and Stevens over, didn't they? And Stevens actually played a little bit better on the right hand side than he has been on the left. But, that's a pretty low bar, but it looked a bit better in that second half. But yeah, it was the strangeness. I just thought that the starting lineup was strange. The substitution at half time was a bit weird, it's just all added up to a very sort of slow, dull performance. That's the main thing that I had a problem with, is the pace of the game and it's hard to imagine beating.
Predictable, wasn't it?
It's hard to imagine beating any team in the Championship playing like that unless they throw you a goal or you score with a set piece. There was just not enough there for me, and I was worried when I saw the initial starting 11, and it kind of didn't get any better as the game went on, really, until the last 5 minutes.
The Sienna thing, Steve, has been a hot topic of conversation before the game and after the game. I mean, subbed off at half-time yesterday. I think I was trying to work out in the last 3 games, he's played like 48, maybe 50% of the minutes being saved or rested. Is there a bit of sympathy for there? Or did you kind of like, we've got to try and win one of these games, so at some point we've got to roll the dice and go for it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is what happened Sunday. Maybe it's a case of, well, we've kind of wanted to manage his minutes through this period because we don't know how he's going to react to playing four games in 10 days. Probably never done it in his entire career. But yeah, there comes a point where you've got to kind of look at that and actually, well, he's actually played 1.5 games in a week and a bit. So what's the problem now? Unless they are keeping quiet about something that's maybe not quite right, sort of under the surface, maybe a muscle tweak that's not quite, like something niggly that's not quite going away, and they obviously want to put him out on the pitch because of how productive he is. But they've got to obviously be very careful not to kind of drag him through that sort of red zone, as they call it, and see him out for like sort of 2 or 3 months.
But if that is the case, Steve, isn't it like very sort of counterproductive to not just say that to people and to get fans on side and to get give everyone a lift and go, actually, Leo's playing through pain here to play for us, whereas at the moment we just don't know what's going on.
Yeah, perhaps, but then on the flip side, you don't. I think they're probably more concerned with giving away tactical insight to the opposition. If Sienna's going to play, then obviously they're going to probably have to double up on him more often than not, and that should give opportunity and space to the other players. But they're not really taking the ball by the horns at the moment. Robinson had little moments yesterday. Fellows, obviously, when he came on, eventually when he got going, just kind of tore them apart. And it was like, well, where was this? It was odd that the first half felt like a half where actually you needed someone to be able to play a threaded pass. It didn't look like there was any dribble space for Sienna, because he was when he went on these little mazy dribbles, a lot of them were side to side. He wasn't being able to run kind of directly towards goal as he has done in a lot of previous games. And maybe the thought was, well, okay, well, maybe it's a game where you need someone who can thread that pass through the eye of the needle. And okay, Finazaz is probably a better player for that sort of scenario. And then we get to 10 minutes from the end, and suddenly Tom Fellows is dribbling towards goal at pace, and it's like, well, where's this space been all afternoon? I mean, Millwall subs did make them noticeably weaker. They were I mean, they looked absolutely knackered by the end of the game.
They've had a few injuries as well, haven't they?
Which is unsurprising when, I mean, they've still got 9 or 10 first teamers unavailable. So yeah, I mean, it's disappointing not to kind of take advantage of that. But then hardly anybody else has been able to beat them in the last few months. So it's a difficult one. Clean sheet is always a positive, but yeah, just didn't quite do enough, I don't think.
It's all just a bit isn't it?
Yeah.
Cam Bragg was a positive, Alfie, getting his first start at home. He looked decent. I was looking back to, just out of interest, when we beat Charlton 5-1 and that game and who was playing, and I hadn't realised it was Bragg and Casper Yander in midfield for that one. So maybe that's something we'll see a bit more of going forward.
Yeah, I think that was weirdly his first start at St Mary's, if I'm not wrong.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, because it feels like he's been around for months now, obviously. There's not much too much more to say about him, really. I already said in the opening sort of intro that I thought he did well. He linked up, play well. One of the differences, I guess, and I'm not having a dig at Flynn Downs, but Cam's Flynn Downs likes to come and take the ball in a pinch when he's got 2 players on his back, and it's always a risky place to receive the ball. And obviously, it's a Russell Martin thing, and he's good at that. But I feel like Cam always sort of turns and looks another way, doesn't try and play that really risky pass, which in the end I think is positive for the team. It gets them forward. He tries to play it forward rather than into really sort of packed spaces, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, he's a good lad, isn't he? I've said before, the turnaround in where he was sort of 3 months ago to now, on the verge of leaving the club, expecting to go to maybe League 2 or League 1. And now it feels like he's a really, a useful part of the team. And whether he starts again at Middlesbrough, I don't know, different question, because the temptation will be to obviously bring in the fully rested Casper Yander again. I think Flynn Downs is important. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Would you play him again?
I would go with Cam Bragg and Casper Yander, because
I wouldn't.
Too soon?
We're such a lightweight team.
With Hayden Hackney going around kicking the shit out of everybody in midfield, as we saw a few games ago, I think Downs is probably the guy for that one.
If you look at and this is an additional frustration with the way we play. We're now, if you go back to that Charlton game, we played the wingers wide, and it opened up all sorts of space in the middle, and and we saw how that game panned out. What we're doing now is kind of playing the wide players, so Sienna and Matsky in the first half. We're kind of playing the midfield and trying to get the fullbacks wide, and what it ends up doing is it funnels everything down the middle. And the trouble is, when you funnel everything down the middle, you've got a lot less space, so you're relying on quick play, quick passing, or physicality to kind of brutalise teams. But Millwall's back 4 were monsters, right? I looked at all 4 of them at centre half. I can't remember at the start of the second half. You had Kramer at right back, who looks about 6'3". You had one of the centre halves, Cour, is enormous, and they're just huge. But you look at our team, and you just consider the height and weight of these players. When you Matsky is about 6 stone, isn't he, and tiny. You got Cameron Archer, small. Sienna, small. Cam Bragg, small. Jella, tiny. And you've got so it's like Ryan Manning, not the biggest either. Cam Bragg, not the biggest either. So it's a very, very small team. If you take Flynn Downs out of that as well and put Casper Yander in, it's like Lilliput, isn't it? Everyone's tiny. They need more physicality in the team, or they need to play quicker in the wider areas. All this funneling down the middle it's just landed a giants against these teams in the Championship, and it's just impossible to play that way. So yeah, I don't think you can possibly take Flynn Downs out of the team at the moment, because he's the only one in that sort of like central mid or in front of the defence who's got any sort of physicality about the way he plays. I mean, Yander and Bragg both get stuck in, but I mean, you got Finn as As, but getting stuck in is not really his game. Yeah. So I think they do need to address that. I mean, it is specific to the Championship, really, but if you look at the way the Premier League's going, it's all pace and power now. The reason Sunderland have done well is because they've signed. I mean, apart from Granit Xhaka, everyone else is a 7 foot tall athlete, aren't they? So that's the way football's going, and whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. But certainly in the Championship against teams like Millwall, you need that, or you need to play with pace, or you need to, use the spaces, and the spaces are always out wide. So I hope we get back to, playing Sienna on one wing and, fellows somehow up the other wing. But we'll have to wait and see.
We'll do Player of the Week in just a moment. Anything else from the Millwall game? I know we kind of covered the save a bit, haven't we?
I thought Ryan Manning was a little bit fortunate not to get at least a booking. There were 3 occasions where he basically did the same foul, and it's that horrible sort of Harry Kane move of the ball's coming out of the sky, and you're not going to be challenging for the header. So what you do is you basically put the challenging opposite opponent up on your shoulders, and he flips over and lands on his shoulder. And obviously that caused the first stoppage at the start of the second half, and then there were another 1 or 2 that he did later in that half as well. And quite surprised the ref didn't kind of get onto him about that, because I'm not a fan of those challenges. They're pretty dangerous. Pitches these days are rock solid, especially where it's been cold. And I mean, the way their lad landed that first time, I just assumed
for a bit,
probably snapped his collarbone there. But fortunately, got up and was okay. But
I was surprised no Millwall players didn't kick off at him, to be honest, because you would expect that, if that sort of challenge goes in, usually it sort of we end up with handbags. And I know it's a different sport, but it's like the tackle in the air in rugby union. It's just completely, you cannot do that. You are going off the pitch if you do that. And it's a good one to remember that Manning did that about 3 times, and it was just unusual, because I don't think I've ever seen him do it before. But it was weird how he sort of brought it into that game. Probably because the Millwall players were all 6'3" or whatever.
Yeah. Right, let's do Player of the Week. I assume Bazunu for the save, maybe. I was thinking first name down. Anyone else, Steve?
I mean, I'd say Bragg has obviously had an impact this week, hasn't he, on Monday night and yesterday? So maybe put him in the conversation.
That's probably it, I think. I don't know, Alfie, Glen, anyone else that we should be putting down? It's going to sort of 2-horse race, really.
I forgot Monday night happened, so I'm running on 50% information here.
Thing is, Monday night at Birmingham was kind of a similar kind of performance, wasn't it? There wasn't a lot in terms of exciting attacking play, or attacking play of any description at all. So no, it is difficult to go beyond those 2 names. I mean,
that'd be ironic. The day we announce a new goalkeeper, Gavin Bazunu gets our Player of the Week for the first time. But
it's again, I mean, I've slated Bazunu, as everyone knows, but it's a good save, and it's a key moment, like his save was at Birmingham. But it's
shouldn't have got there, really, should it? That was the
criticisms kind of still remain of his game, and it's not. It's the old one swallow does not make a summer thing. He's got to, he's had multiple chances, and it's just not enough. It's just not enough for me. But obviously, we're very grateful that he made that save, and it was a tremendous save. So
I think we've even said in this podcast before, Glenn, that we all know he's capable of making an explosive Premier League level save, because he is an athlete. He's strong, but ultimately that's not what we criticise him for. He's criticised for his command of the box and his the confidence he gives defenders, I guess, and that doesn't change.
Yeah,
true. Right, anything else on Millwall before we put the sorry game to bed?
No.
Good. Well, that went much better than I thought it was going to be, to be honest. So it's Middlesbrough next on Sunday. They haven't scored in the last 4 games, so we kind of know what happens next. They had a good start, Steve, didn't they? But they've been struggling this last month or so. They've kind of fallen off a bit.
Yeah, I mean, they're another side that seem to be picking up a new injury every week, which obviously doesn't help them. They've also got a centre forward who's forgotten how to score a goal, so we know what's happening on Sunday. Tommy Conway will score at least once. But yeah, they're a side they've kind of been muddling through a little bit the last 6 weeks. I mean, basically since Rob Edwards left, everything was a little bit sort of up in the air at the point at which he left. The new manager from Scandinavia came in, had a great impact at the start. 4 straight wins, I think. But now kind of everything is kind of leveling back off to probably where Middlesbrough side. I mean, you look at their squad on paper, it's a maybe hovering around the edge of the playoffs kind of squad. I don't think it's brilliant. They've got one standout player, Hayden Hackney, in the centre midfield, who seemed as if he was going to get in a Premier League move in the summer, and it didn't happen for whatever reason. Yeah. And he's really the only kind of standout player they've got, I think. And yeah, I mean, it's a game that, I mean, with them having, as you say, not scoring in 4, we're obviously having creativity issues ourselves. Over this festive period. It's going to be another one for the purists, I think, isn't it?
It's a hell of a trip for you as well on a Sunday, Alfie. You must be really looking forward to this.
Yeah, luckily we'll get a train up on the Saturday, and we'll be in the BBC Mobile on the way back. So it's actually not
lovely.
too bad. It's I'll take that. I mean, going 4 games without a goal, obviously not ideal, and they've had some poor results. I mean, losing to Derby, Hull are a better team than maybe we thought, but losing to them 1-0 as well, 0-0 with Blackburn. It's not great, but in the sort of 8 games before that, I think they scored about 17 goals. So they averaged more than 2 goals a game for a month and a half before that. So clearly they have got the ability to score goals. There'll be no foregone conclusion, I'm sure of that. Interestingly, I think Adam Armstrong, I've got to start here. Adam Armstrong scored the opening goal in all 3 of Southampton's games against Middlesbrough in recent years, and we've failed to win any of them. So I don't know what that will say if we.
I was excited until you finished that.
Do that again.
Go with the first bit.
Yeah, but Adam Armstrong scored the first goal in all 3 of our last games against
Brilliant.
Middlesbrough. So that's good. Get him back on the pitch. Yeah, it's a long trip, and a fair play to any supporter who makes that trip, obviously, and anyone who's done all of them. You know, if you've done Oxford, Birmingham, and Borough, fair play to you, because it's a long way.
I'm expecting big things, Glenn, with all these rested players. I'd imagine our best 11. But anything we know for sure is there'd be 3 centre-backs. And the rest of it, who knows, really? It's becoming a little bit more difficult to call.
Do you know what? With what we know about Tonda and his meticulous planning and all that, it's putting me in mind of another horrible period in our history when Claude Puel managed us in the Europa League. Do you remember it? And it was all like it was run off a spreadsheet. And he planned 6 or 7 games in advance, and he kept changing things around and the league performances, and then we'd go to an important, one of the more difficult Europa League games, and he'd have strange players playing and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So it's reminding me a little bit of that at the moment. So who knows what Tonda's magic spreadsheet has got in store for us in terms of the team for this particular game. All eyes obviously on Leo Sienna, because at the end of the day he is our best player, and the whole tone of the performance changes, I think, when he plays, especially when the other Armstrong, Azaz and Fellows are all playing as well. So hopefully that's what we get. It'll be interesting with Middlesbrough, because obviously their expectations at the start of the season probably weren't of challenging for the top 2, but the fact is they've been in the top 2 all season until last week. So I think, as we know, fans' expectations, they do tend to change quite quickly. So having made such a good start, there'll be a certain amount of disappointment there that they've lost the manager in slightly dubious circumstances. It must have hurt when he decided to leave to go to a team that was almost certainly going to get relegated out of, regardless of the fact that it was his local club. Yeah. They had the initial Kim Hellberg. He continued on the good work for the first few weeks, and now, a bit like Tonda Eckert, really, he's facing a challenge now, and we're going to find out how good a manager he is in the same way we're going to find out how good Tonda Eckert is, because it's always about how you recover, isn't it, rather than almost as much as the games you just played. So so. Again, I seem to say this every week. It could be a good game that score the first goal. You might get a bit of unrest in the crowd if people are getting fed up with him. But last time we played them, I didn't think they were that great. But we had a very lenient referee, as Steve was already said, who allowed Hayden Hackney to go around booting everybody. And I think he got booked in the 89th minute or something. So hopefully we get a referee who knows where his cards are if it gets a bit over physical. I do notice with interest that they must be short in central defence at the moment, because their 2 central defenders for the last game were Matt Targett and Luke Ayling, who are both fullbacks. So
Ayling's been playing there all season, in fairness.
Oh, has he? Fair play.
Yeah.
Fair play. Yeah, he's probably ain't got the pace to play fullback anymore. No. So
they play 5, same as we do.
Luke Ayling did also play centre half for Bristol City in 2014-15 when we won League One by about 50 points. So he can do it.
Matt Targett would be an interesting one there.
Yeah, he's a solid enough defender, isn't he? I mean,
there was talk that Newcastle were going to recall him. So Middlesbrough are slightly concerned by that because I think most of their injury worries have been central defence as well. So losing one of their potential options there would not be ideal.
If we lose this one on Sunday, though, Steve, I was just going to say, are we starting to sort of like the tide to turn against the manager a little bit? I know there was a few sort of rumblings at full time again on New Year's Day. Is it quite an important one for him?
Yeah, I think ultimately while we can always kind of preach, it's a results-driven business. I think if people can see signs that things are improving, then you inevitably get a slightly longer leash. But over the last month, 3 to 4 weeks, things have started kind of slipping back into sort of bad old habits from both individual and team. And I think people let's be honest, we know there is a significant portion of our fan base that has no patience whatsoever.
Yeah.
And will look for the slightest excuse to get on the back of either individuals or the team as a collective. And you've basically got, I think the team's and manager's responsibility really is to make sure that there aren't any of the waverers starting to join them. You give the sort of fair-minded majority of the fan base something to cling on to, and it'll be absolutely fine. But the moment kind of things start taking that turn sort of negatively, then I think you're then kind of in a little bit of trouble, and you've got to kind of drag yourselves out of it at some point.
Let's do our predictions then for the Middlesbrough game. For yesterday, just on our predictions league, we had 16 correct results predicted. Just the one person predicted that it would be a 0-0 draw. That was Harry. No surname, but well done, Harry, for predicting that, if that's what you meant to do. Alfie, do you want to go first for this one? Predictions for Middlesbrough?
Yeah, I'll back both teams.
That was a sigh.
No, that's all right. I'll back both teams to get a goal. I'll go for the 1-1.
1-1. God. Okay. Glen?
Struggle to see how we're going to get a result in this one, to be honest.
Same.
It's a long way to go. I think, the 7 hours without scoring thing, that will inevitably come back to bite us.
Of course.
Just to pick up on something you just said, I don't think this game in isolation is huge for Tonderecker. That's the game at Fratton Park in 3 weeks' time. That'll be the one that he has to get right, because things have gone slightly pear-shaped the last 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, we've lost 2 away games to teams in the bottom 3, and that tedious draw yesterday, it just doesn't go down well. And I heard the name Will Still mentioned on more than one occasion, both in the ground and social media afterwards. People are beginning to see the writing on the wall a little bit. So it needs to turn around, but I don't think it's going to turn around against Middlesbrough. I think 1-0 defeat.
Gosh, blimey, that's going to be an interesting
long old trip home, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to be guesting on the Adam and Joe podcast on the way back?
I don't know. It depends if they want me or not. Probably don't. We'll see.
I'm sure they will. If you want to play along with the Predictions League, all you need is your Patreon login. There's a leaderboard and how to play on the website. So just head over to totalsaints.co.uk.
We're not doing Steve then.
Oh, Steve. Sorry, Steve.
Mine's made a mistake.
That's right. Don't worry about me.
There's a couple of other business as well before we wrap up, I think.
You'll probably get this right as well, Steve. Go
on. Well, I mean, they can't score. We can't score at the moment. So why not? 0-0.
0-0. All right.
We've got to mention Fraser Forster, mine.
Yeah, to Bournemouth, right?
Yeah, very
right?
weird.
I thought it was a joke when I saw it. So they've got that much of an injury crisis, have they? And he goes straight into the squad. I just saw the picture of him flash up on the Echo app. I thought we haven't, surely. And then so Bournemouth.
It's a strange replacement for Semenyo, but each to their own.
But if he ends up playing a game, I'll be obviously amazed. He obviously won't. But fair play to him. Why not? Easy money in it. Best job in the world.
He's been rubbish, hasn't he, lately?
He's shocking. He's absolutely shocking. I had fans telling me that he was better than Ramsdale back in July, and I've watched all of his clips. And I'll go and watch Peretz this weekend as well. And Petrovic was crap in Liga. Now, I don't know how he was in the team this season, all this sort of stuff. I watched him fumble about 15 goals. I couldn't believe that people were raving about him. And he's crap. So that's a win for us. Aaron Ramsdale's better. Come on.
For sure. Anything else?
I thought there was some other stuff, but there's obviously not. I mean, it's weird that we're still waiting for the assistant manager and all that kind of thing. It feels like we've been waiting a long time for that.
They were saying that was close, wasn't it? He was kind of like hinting that was going to be his staff were going to be named pretty soon. So do you think maybe there's some compensation going on, or
maybe it's work permits and all that sort of stuff as well, potentially? The other thing that I noticed today was the Callum McFarlane, who was the under-21s manager here last year for about 6 months, is managing Chelsea against Man City tomorrow. Which is bonkers. He was at the under-18s coach this time last year at Saints. So fair play to him. Good luck.
And a few loans, a couple of players coming back. Nothing that's going to impact the first team, but we're going to see a little bit of movement, I guess, because it's that time of year where they start to review stuff.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see a bit more movement on the likes of Samadozi and Joe Reba as well. Those are the ones we're waiting for, really, aren't they? And let's see what happens.
The one's out more
than anything James Bree comes back, doesn't
he? Yeah, but I'm sure that Nathan Jones will want to keep him, and I'm certain that they won't want him. But
would you not want him back, Glenn? Would you want him back?
No,
I'd take him back just to piss on Nathan Jones's chips. To be
honest. That's the only reason. You beat me to
it. There you go, mate. It's £2 million. Lovely.
The only other thing I could think of is got to mention it in the Middlesbrough bit is obviously Finn Azaz going back there, and they targeted him last time. It was the player that Hayden Hackney was kicking most of the game was Finn Azaz. So if we are. And I predicted us to get beat 1-0. But if we are going to be getting a goal, it would be a very good time for Finn Azaz to rediscover his form and nick one in the Middlesbrough net. That would be very nice.
I'm sure he'd enjoy it as well. Right, thank you all. You can follow Total Saints Podcast on all the social media platforms. Give us a follow. It's Total Saints Pod on those. You can also check out the merch store. There's some more items that will get added to there all the time. shop.totalsaints.co.uk. You'll also find us on Patreon. That's where you can support the podcast with your monthly contributions. You head to patreon.com/Total Saints Podcast. We mentioned it at the start, but each of the tiers comes with different perks, including some shout outs, the credits at the end of the podcast for patrons in our Francis Benali and our Mick Shannon tier. So thank you, as always, to Dave Melton, Andy Hollis, Anthony Thompson, Gavin Ford, James Harron, Nicky Nicholson, Peter Montalabo, Southampton NY, Drew Dyer, James Kibbe, Red 76 Tax, Michael Blackmer, David Mansell, and Nick Gardner. They're in our Francis Benali tier. And thanks as well to Nick Reed, Dave Ernsberger, Nick Hingston, Phil Cook, Jonathan Cooper, Colt Baker, Anthony Thompson, Matt Hall, Mike Etheridge, Phil Horstrup, Mark Littlewood, James Bobin, John Bevan, Frank Thorpe, John Peacock, and Andy, who are all in our Mick Shannon tier. Thanks as well to Paul Castle Associates and Steamtown Brewery for sponsoring TSP this season. Thank you to Steve, to Glenn, and to Alfie. Safe trip to everybody heading up to Middlesbrough. Our next podcast will be on Sunday night at 7 o'clock. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your comments.